So imagine you're me. Yes, that back pain is pretty typical, and the elbow too. Okay, wait, taking this too literally. Start over. So imagine you're some idea of me, sitting in bed looking for something to play on YouTube while I fall asleep, because I abhor the idea of being alone with my thoughts, and just needed some background noise. Luckily, there's a channel on YouTube that specializes in being just background noise. Introducing Just Background Noise, a YouTuber and streamer who makes Elder Scrolls challenge run videos. He's someone I've been watching for a little while now, and I was quite excited when I saw he had just posted a video asking the question, how many items do you have to loot to beat Skyrim? Great video, by the way. Recommend that. But as I was sitting there watching it, rather than sleeping, as I was intending, I quickly came to a conclusion. With a single exception to the rules set forward in Just Background Noise's video, I could cut the number of items looted in half. While this may not seem impressive at first, spoiler alert, Just Background Noise beat Skyrim using only 4 items that he looted. And I knew that by breaking the rules in his video a single time, I could easily cut that number to 2 items. Just to clarify everything up front, let's go over the rules laid out, and I'll explain the single change I'm going to make. By Just Background Noise's definition, looting is removing items from inventory screens, such as corpses, pickpocketing, chests, basically anything that brings up this screen when you click on it. Picking up items off the ground and placing them into the inventory, that's looting. He even went so far as to ban the use of merchants, which I still followed. His exact words are,
and the point of this is to make it as inconvenient as possible. Pretty much any means of getting an item that isn't given to me is looting. Quest rewards, those are allowed. Although I'm not going to get Daedric artifacts because that feels too easy. And I think that just about covers everything. Our goal is to minimize looting by any non-glitchy means necessary. We won't be phasing through walls with dinner plates, if you are concerned.
Directly in response to Just Background Noise's very clear diss, I will be playing as a male High Elf, because the Highborn racial power is great, thank you very much. And also, High Elves have the fastest base running speed of any race in the game. We witness an execution, and then for some reason get put ahead of the guy who probably should have been first in the list. I then begin sprinting, and attempt a classic speedrun skip, because I've done exactly 3 Skyrim speedruns, and I like to show off a little bit. In fact, I use a glitch here that is completely unnecessary to skip a large portion of the tutorial, just because I like to show off. Luckily, you can still do the Imperial route, like this, without doing the skip, just so that none of you claim I needed to do a glitch to skip all that stuff. The tutorial is basically a speedwalking simulator for me, and the second I'm gone, I begin to make a beeline for the standing stones nearby, and grab the Mage Stone. There's just a few passive buffs here that I thought would be useful. But after that, I'm a man on a mission. I begin heading straight for the northern parts of Skyrim. I'll explain on the way. You see, when doing the game the normal way, there are 17 or 18 quests in the main story, depending on the status of the Civil War. In the case where you're just doing the main story, there will be 18 quests. As we won't be doing the Civil War questline, we'll have to finish that 18th quest as well. And we're already 1/18 of the way there by completing the tutorial mission Unbound. However, what if I told you there was a way to skip straight to the end of the 8th quest, thereby skipping basically the entire first act of the game's story? You'd call me a madman, of course, unless you knew something about Skyrim speedrunning. Now, the method I'll be using was actually a bit of a roundabout fix for a problem that got fixed many updates ago, well before the special edition of Skyrim, the version of the game I'm playing, was even released. You see, prior to patch 1.5, there was an unusual stone, or Stone of Baron Zaya, in the Thalmor Embassy, which meant you had to pick it up the one time you were there in the main questline, or lose out on ever grabbing it. Patch 1.5 changed this to be in the cave just outside. Naturally, before that change happened, people needed a way around this, and as such developed the technique I'm about to use, and many others. First though, we're here in Morthal for a key part of the run. You see, in the rules of the run, as stated, to be considered a looted item, it must be taken from an inventory screen, stolen, or picked up and put into the inventory. That means we can pick up an item and move it around in the physical world, and as long as it never gets placed into our inventory, it does not count as a looted item. So we'll be picking up this bucket and manually carrying it with us to our destination. You see, when watching the original video, Just Background Noise pointed out that we need to pick up both the Golden Claw and the Dragon Stone in the Bleak Falls Barrow quest, which means that we automatically would need to pick up 2 items, not counting anything that came out after that in the quests. However, if we could skip those 2 items entirely, we'd have already cut down just background noise as counted items to half. And I was about to do a way that would do just that. However, clearly, this is a violation of the rules that just background noise laid down in his video, and I'm not so naive as to believe that he doesn't know about this. It's a pretty popular glitch. I just wanted to show off just how few items you truly need to beat the game if you're willing to break these rules a little bit. You see, here at the Thalmor Embassy lies the information we need to finish the 8th quest in the story, Diplomatic Immunity. By aligning this bucket with the wall in a precise method, and running directly at it, you can fail to perform this glitch on the first try. However, by aligning this bucket with the wall correctly, and sprinting into it correctly, you can just kind of pop into the Thalmor Embassy's interior courtyard, a place surrounded by both visible and invisible walls that would prevent any access any other way. Except through the use of a horse or dinner plate, or flying under the map and reloading the game at a specific spot so that you warp in the right location. You know what? There's actually a lot of ways to get through these walls. Let's just move. Yeah. From the inner courtyard, we can then simply waltz into Elwyn Solar, read all of her notes about the blades, and then wander down to the locked door, where... Oh, I don't have any lockpicks. And I didn't grab the tower stone, like just background noise did. Alright, quick sidetrack. By repeatedly punching this Solitude guard and serving my jail time, I can amass both a collection of lockpicks and free clothing. Neat! And I never loot them, as they just kind of appear in my inventory and aren't removed when I leave. So, with a rap sheet long enough to get me sent to a federal prison, if this were the real world, I can return to Morthal, because for some reason this is the closest place that a bucket I can use actually spawns, and then walk all the way back to the Thalmor Embassy again, glitch through the wall again, and then finally open the locked door. From here you can then read the book on Esbern, and for those of you who aren't familiar with the quest, this will automatically trigger the flag that basically ends the last part of Diplomatic Immunity, the 8th quest of the storyline. And from there, we can proceed through the game as normal. First stop, Delphine in the Sleeping Giant Inn. However, there is a small issue here. As we've broken the correct order of the game, there's a few things that haven't happened yet, and this is one of them. Delphine's super secret spy room in her closet is locked, and she will not open it for me, so I cannot go down to her secret spy room, so I just need to wait until she reappears outside to finish this mission. But I greet her like an old friend who had just hatched a plan to break into an embassy with me. And that ends the Diplomatic Immunity quest. I then proceed to take the most scenic route to Riften, and by scenic I mean walking most of the way there and punching a guard, and then they conveniently bring me to the middle of town once I serve my jail time. I'm looking to speak to Brynjolf about Esbern, but he wants me to steal something, which would mean picking something up. And you and I both know that's not something I'm in the business of doing. So instead I head into the Ratways, using the remaining lockpicks I have, find the bouncer for the Ragged Flagon, the public front for the Thieves Guild here, and beat the crap out of him. This surprisingly works, and he tells me where Esbern is located. Something I already knew, but I like to pretend I'm not just doing this quest from memory. I link up with Esbern, and he talks for like a long time, which does mark the end of the 9th quest, meaning that the story is already halfway over. Eventually, though, he gets in gear, and we can escape back to the surface world once again, and thusly get back to good buddy Delphine. However, Delphine has still not opened her secret door, and will not do so. So, while I wait, they magically teleport into her secret spy room, and then I get to listen to their conversation from really far away. This directs me to, surprise, Skyhaven Temple, and so we set off on a trek for the next part of the next mission. And by trek, I mean I fast travel as close as possible, sprint there, and ignore basically every enemy by just jumping into the cave entrance from above and behind. There are only 3 enemies inside, and then 2 insultingly simple puzzles. Like, seriously, this place is lost? I do the cliche blood magic thing, which opens a door, and then ignore Esbern while he talks a lot. I also do this little speedrunning trick where you can sprint into someone, and they just stop talking. I actually did test this, and it works in real life too. So the next time you're in a boring conversation, I would just recommend sprinting at the other person at full speed, and they should stop talking. That marks the end of Quest 10, and the start of Quest 11, where we're off to talk with the Greybeards. So, like I mentioned earlier, there's a few small issues with the state of the world as we skipped a lot of the quests. And the biggest part of that is that High Hrothgar is locked. The front doors only. But that means we can utilize Skyrim's most intended mechanic, mountain climbing, to get to the back, walk in, piss off the Greybeards by mentioning the blades, and then head off on our merry way to see good old Paarthurnax. Paarthurnax, of course, teaches us some new fighting words, and then sends us off to look for a scroll. Because I have played this game a great many times before, and have no real interest in going to the College of Winterhold, I just headed straight to see my old buddy, Septimus Cygnus, who gives me the cube I need to obtain the magic cylinder I'm after. And after that, I head straight to Aftland. If you've gotten this far in the video, and either never seen Skyrim, played by somebody else, or played it yourself, first off, hi, you have to be very confused by this point. And secondly, Aftland here is a Dwemer ruin, which houses one of the only few entrances to an underground city known as Blackreach. Blackreach, aside from having simultaneously the coolest aesthetic in the game and the most tedious quest in the game, houses one of 3 Elder Scrolls that appear in the Skyrim Special Edition, and the one we specifically need to beat the main quest. For many, Aftland is a dangerous place, filled with Dwemer automatons and Thalmor, both dangerous enemies for a fella at level 2. Luckily, I am skilled in one of the few remaining mystic arts in the world, called fucking off really fast, and I utilize this to just sprint past the vast majority of my enemies, because I am not fighting Thalmor when I don't have to. God, I hate those guys. Luckily, my prowess in this ancient art allows me to evade every single enemy in Blackreach, and I make it to the Tower of Mizark with no issues. Inside this ancient tower sits a massive Dwemer machine that does something. Unfortunately, I have no clue what that something is, instead only knowing how to mash these 4 buttons until the next one opens, and doing that long enough until the last one opens, which means I can steal the Elder Scroll. Before returning to Paarthurnax, I stopped at the college real quick just to be gifted with some basic magic gear, because most of my fighting has been done with the basic flame spell, and this random iron dagger that a guy handed me for some reason.
Take this and hold on to it. I'll be back for it later.
They even give me the Summon Flame Atrodax spell for my troubles, which will get used twice, and be effective. Never. But when we get back to the throat of the world, we can read the scroll, and then sit through what may be one of the longest unskippable cutscenes I have ever witnessed, and certainly the most boring. Thank God you only need to watch this if you want to finish the main quest. And you know, I never really do that. And I only have to do it once this video. From there comes the first fight with Alduin, where I use my new shout I like to call Force Existential Crisis, to make an immortal dragon have a mental breakdown, repeatedly, while Paarthurnax and my Flame Atrodax beat him up. After remembering I have what also essentially equates to a toothpick, I get in close too and start showing Alduin who the boss is, much in the same way I do to bosses in Souls games, running in circles a lot with the hope that they'll just kind of die. Eventually, Alduin gets beaten up bad enough that he runs away, and Paarthurnax's solution to finding him, again, is, what if we trapped a dragon in a wooden building? I see all these years on top of a mountain have really kept your mind sharp, Paarthurnax. Of course, for some reason, Jarl Balgruuf just kind of agrees to this, on the condition that we at least temporarily pause the Civil War, because apparently the leaders of both sides of a civil war will watch us capture a dragon in town and think, you know when the best time to attack a city is? When they're holding an immortal dragon hostage. Surely nothing bad could happen to that, right? I digress. Now you'll recall I made a snide comment about Blackreach and the quest where you gotta collect 50 red Nirn roots, claiming it was the most tedious quest in the game. I lied. Friends, the single worst quest in this entire game, counting all quests, even the random ones for factions where you just go to a city, do something, and come back. Even the Daedric quest for Hircine, which I cannot stand. Even the Companions questline, which is by far the single most boring main questline in this game, is Season Unending, where you go get the military heads of a civil war and just shove them in a room and play treaty negotiations for 20 fucking minutes. In a normal playthrough, I would go out of my way to complete the civil war just to avoid this quest. And because I really enjoy beating the crap out of Ulfric Stormcloak. But no, that would require picking stuff up. So I sit and listen to Ulfric Stormcloak complain. And then I listen to General Tullius complain. And then I listen to Esbern give a speech about Alduin. And then I listened to the Greybeard restate the last 20 minutes of discussion about treaties. And then I listened to Esbern complain some more about Paarthurnax, which, realistically, Paarthurnax has done a lot more to help me than you guys have at this point in the story. And finally, 20 minutes later, I can go trap a dragon in a wooden building. Which goes surprisingly well. Like, it just works. No issues. He's in and out in like 5 minutes. Blammo whammo. I'm heading to the location of Alduin's secret portal to the afterlife. And here we are. Skuldafn. Alduin's super duper secret portal to Sovngarde, and the last dungeon we need to conquer to face the World Eater in combat for the final time. Luckily, I have a plan for this place, one that has been slowly being perfected in the background over the long course of this run, which will take advantage of everything I have learned up to this point. Okay, that's worked for the most part. But we've come across this sight most upsetting. A Nordic dragon claw door, which can only ever be opened with the corresponding dragon claw, which happens to be conveniently in the pockets of this corpse that appeared next to the door somehow. However, this seemingly simple obstacle is insurmountable to us as it stands, because picking up the dragon claw would amount to looting in a second item. And as I know no way to get past this door without it, it happens. We loot our second item of the run, in order to proceed past this door and save the world. The ancient art of fucking off once again saves our behinds, as by just sprinting as fast as I can just kind of jump through the portal to Sovngarde before the Dragon Priest can take out the staff holding it open. Within Sovngarde, I beeline to Shore's Hall, meet with 3 ancient heroes who sent Alduin forward in time, thanks for that by the way, caused some issues recently, and we head right back outside to make this dragon learn a thing or two about the idea of mortality firsthand. From here, it's light work. The 3 heroes and my Flame Atronach make, well, not short work of Alduin, but it doesn't take that long, and I didn't have to do most of it. I kind of just hide in the back, using the Existential Crisis shout repeatedly, and spamming the heal spell, until he's low enough that my Iron Dagger does the trick. Kinda anticlimactic if you ask me, but I've always really felt that way about this fight. Probably the main reason I never really do the main storyline. And that's it then. Skyrim beaten with only 2 items, and only 1 wall walked through to do it. Or it would have been. Several days after I recorded all this footage, I was letting it percolate before I started working on the script. A video was recommended to me on YouTube, demonstrating a way to skip a part of the main quest for Skyrim. It's not unusual. I've recently been looking into Skyrim speedrunning casually, you know, as evidenced by my 4th place position on the console leaderboards for the marriage speedruns. Subtle flex, by the way. But what exactly the skip was unusual. You see, the video recommended to me was a method of skipping Skuldafn that required no items. Simply some classic Skyrim mountain climbing. I thought about it for a few days. You know, I had the footage already recorded to beat Skyrim with only 2 items video, you know, but I'm nothing if not persistent, and willing to waste my time on things. So let's give a warm welcome to One Scroll, the newest Dragonborn. A lot of the routing is exactly the same, so quite frankly I won't bore you with all the details, just kind of the highlights. We escaped the dragon, side with Hadvar again just to prove I didn't need to do that glitch to get through the tutorial with no items, and steal a horse almost immediately. Using this horse, I managed to glitch out very strangely that I've never seen happen before. Visit the Throat of the World, and deliver some supplies to the Greybeards, which, when I go back to talk to the guy who originally had them, gives me some starting capital that I can then slide them out into the Whiterun stables, and hit a bunch of the important holds stables really quick. Which gives me some fast travel points for later to save some time. This time, though, I do stop and grab the Tower Stone while I'm near Winterhold, so I won't need to just send myself to jail multiple times. But from there, I'm off to Morthal, and our good buddy, the Bucket. Bucket and I head to the Thalmor Embassy once again. First try, I swear. Which goes much smoother now that I don't need to leave and come back to get this door open. Then we're off to Delphine, who still won't let me into her secret spy room. And then we're off to find Esbern again. This time I bribe the barkeep for info, because I like variety. And I grab the old man with time to spare, which is nice because it means I can take the time to beat these Thalmor with my bare hands before we have to leave. Back to Delphine, her and Esbern have another secret conversation, and then we're off to the Skyhaven Temple, yet again. Just for context, I have been speeding this entire time. Sprinting, quick save loading to skip dialogue, sprinted into Esbern, stealing horses left and right. I'm a man, on a mission, and that mission is to get this done in under 4 hours. It took about 3.5, actually, if you're interested. At the temple, Esbern yaps some more. I skip as much of this as possible, before once again heading to see my good friend Septimus Cygnus, whose dialogue I do not skip. And then I practice the ancient art of fucking off, all the way through Aftland again, getting to the Elder Scroll in like an hour and a half, which is not too bad for mostly doing this glitchless. But yes, the one thing I cannot change, and have yet figured out how to skip, is the Elder Scroll. So we yank the bad boy one more time, and head straight to the Greybeards. Kinda. I actually go straight to the Throw of the World. Oh, I didn't actually talk to the Greybeards yet, about a lot of stuff. I just kind of figured I'd save some time by stealing the scroll first, and then sprinting up there, and then talking to Paarthurnax twice in a row. Actually, I tried to steal it, read it at the Throw of the World without talking to anyone, which didn't work. So I just talked to Paarthurnax twice in a row. Unfortunately, I got a little greedy. Let's see if you can catch my mistake in this clip. Anyway, we chat with Paarthi twice real fast, watch a cutscene really slowly, and then cower in fear during this fight with Alduin for a really long time because Paarthurnax glitched out, and I did not have a Flame Atronach spell. Unfortunately, when you're level 2, Alduin throws hands pretty hard, and when you're only wearing prison clothes, you don't got a lot of protection. So I restart this one, and Paarthurnax manages to not glitch out, so he can do all the physical damage, while I keep inflicting the mental. From there, it is yet again season unending, where I approach Ulfric first for a change. Remember that I really can't stand this guy. And then strong-arm Tullius into showing up by telling him he'll look like a little bitch if he tries to skip. However, I do my absolute best to skip as much of this as possible, and soon enough, I'm trapping Ohdahviing in a wooden building again, before blackmailing him into flying me into Skuldafn again. Once in Skuldafn, I simply turn around and scale the mountain behind me. This lets me just walk out of the valley Skuldafn's in, where I can just wander around the mountain range, climb back up this mountain here, and basically jump straight into the portal to Sovngarde. And here is where I begin to realize my mistake. For those of you who didn't catch it earlier, I missed a vital part of learning the Clear Skies shout, absorbing the knowledge of the shout from the Greybeard teaching it to me, because I just fast traveled to the Throw of the World, having already been there. This does mean I can't use the shout, which is all fine and dandy for getting up to the Throw of the World, and even for getting to Shore's Hall once I'm in Sovngarde. However, to start the final fight with Alduin, you have to use Clear Skies twice. And I can't do that. I don't have an earlier save, and I can't leave now that I'm here. So technically, I have failed to beat the game with only one item, but I've proven it's possible. So the key takeaway is then, you can beat the game only using a single item, that being the Elder Scroll. And if you don't mess up by being a little overzealous, it's possible to avoid picking up any other item. And honestly, depending on your opinion of the Skuldafn Skip being a glitch or not, it really only takes 1 or 2 glitches to do it. You just have to make sure to learn the Clear Skies shout. Just be really, really certain to do that, actually. Anyway, huge shout out to Just Background Noise. I really love his videos and thought this was a cool one to try. Go check out his videos if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time, where I collect literally every book in the Elder Scrolls series. Just kidding. Or am I?